Music. Free memberships are available now. The Collective Music Nation. One voice, strength in unity.
Need a personal shopper? Christmas, Boxing Day, and New Year's is just around the corner. Show up in style. I'll do the runaround for you so you don't have to. Contact me, Delicia Henry, your personal shopper and stylist, at bechic.notbougie@gmail.com.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
The number one hit music station.
Hello. Good Sunday afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Womanhood with myself, Lady T, and Tina Cole. Hey, Tina Cole.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. You're looking very lovely this afternoon.
Same. My beautiful sister over there doing it.
Thank you so much. So how's everything going with you? How's your weekend been so far? Let's talk about the weekend.
It's been pretty good, actually. I can't say there's been anything too crazy.
Okay.
So it's been a pretty good week. I can't complain too much about this one.
We like to hear that.
How about yourself?
For me, it's just the same exact thing. I've just been pretty much relaxing for a majority of it. Nothing really much to say about it. I don't even remember what I did yesterday. Oh, I went to the mall. And there's actually, you can tell people are starting to, get more comfortable coming out. The mall had quite a few people in it. I was surprised by the amount of people who were there. Nothing really much. I think during this whole COVID experience, I've become so used to shopping online that I prefer to shop online now.
I do too, 100%. It's easier for me, even the way they allow you to do returns.
Yes.
It's real quick and simple in case something doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But I do prefer to shop online.
I do too.
I'm not one to go through all the racks, and unless I know specifically what I'm going for, I'm online all day.
Yeah. For me, it's having to wear the mask and shop. I don't know if I start hyperventilating when I'm shopping or what, but I can't breathe after a short while in those masks, especially in the store, and there's a lot of other people around you. So it was, I could have done without the experience. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, back to online shopping.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing I have with online shopping that I don't necessarily like is, especially if you're buying from a new store that maybe is not that common or known of, you don't really know what you're going to get.
Yes.
So then when the quality arrives, it's like,
I've seen quite a few of those shops where something is really cute, but I've never heard of the name of the store before.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get these items or not, or what the quality is going to be like. So I'm like, let me go stick to my good old faithfuls.
Yeah, I need to find some more faithfuls. So if anybody has any suggestions as to great online stores to shop at for us women, let me know. Put it in the comments. Okay, so we are here today. Oh, speaking of which, so we do have some people following us on our YouTube. So for all those following us on YouTube, please remember to like
Absolutely.
And subscribe if you like to iLive Radio, which is the YouTube channel which we stream from. If you have any questions or comments during the show, feel free to post those as well. Today for our show, we will also be allowing call-ins. Son of Man call-ins? Yes, call-ins. And the phone number, no call-ins? Yes, Collins. Okay. And the phone number is 647-847-8844. So if you want to call in, have a question, make a comment, by all means, please do so. So let's just open up with a little bit of pulp pop culture type news. One of the things that I have seen in the news is that Viola Davis, one of my favorite actresses, is going to play Michelle Obama in a new anthology series called The First Lady. Really excited to see that.
Yes, I love both of those individuals.
Yes.
Strong, positive Black figures in entertainment.
Definitely.
Doesn't get any better than that.
I really don't think it does, especially Miss Viola. Like anything she's in, it always just captivates me. So looking forward to that. That's going to be on Showtime, apparently, and it premieres on April the 17th. Mm-hmm. So extremely, definitely looking forward to seeing that and discover all there is about, the stories in the background that we don't see out front. Moving on, the Tinder Swindler.
Yes. Did you see it?
I did watch it.
Oh my goodness.
I watched it with my husband and very interesting.
Very
movie.
interesting for anyone out there that has no idea what this is. It's actually a #1 show right now on Netflix, and it's about an individual that is a complete con artist. And he happened to con quite a few women, actually, out of hundreds of thousands of dollars by faking that he is this big diamond jeweler. And he takes these girls' money and uses it on other women and continues to perpetuate the cycle over and over and over again. And unfortunately, he got away with it. And he got picked up by an agency out in Hollywood and is about to do his own show.
Can't believe that at all.
Unbelievable.
I feel like we live in a society that rewards bad behavior lately.
Yes. Yes.
So Harry is...
And it's a dating show at that.
And who's going to want to date this guy?
You just swindled a whole bunch of women out of money and you have the nerve to say you're going to do a dating show. To me, that is... Only in America.
Only in America. And of course, you would know all too well about that being out in Atlanta.
Yes,
but,
yes.
But yeah, I think it's just, I was very shocked by it because apparently it's going to have like a flavor of love effect, I guess they say. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that's going to look like. It'll be interesting to see what that is. I'm sure lots of people are going to tune in. I can't see that actually going down in the dumps. I think it's actually going to do well just because
I know. Just because it's messy.
Just because it's messy.
Yeah, just because it's messy. But even beyond that, I remember seeing some comments that people were making about the show. And it was quite interesting. A lot of men, for example, were saying good for the women, which is quite interesting, and then of course we women were less like, no, the women didn't do the manipulating, Yeah. Everyone wants to find that Prince Charming. Let's just be real, and he comes in this cloak and Prince Charming attitude, private jets and everything else. And he swindles these ladies into believing that he's someone that he isn't. Mm-hmm. And that's not fair.
No. Absolutely not. But of course, the men will say, well, you guys do it to us all the time, blah, 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 blah. But we're not talking about them today.
Right, exactly.
We're going to keep it on us. And absolutely. It was, I just found it, I was just fascinated by how easy it was for him to just, come up with these, flamboyant stories as to why he needed the money. And then these women just kind of gave it to him.
Yeah.
And that one main character woman, I don't know what her name is, she kept going back to the banks, getting more credit cards, asking for increases, doing all of this stuff. And I mean, at what point do you say, you know what? Like, I don't this isn't sitting very well with me. I don't think I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to go back and ask for more. I mean, even the first time he asked for it, I would have kind of been like, we need to kind of have more of a conversation about that. I don't know how I feel.
Remember, the manipulation started early, right? So he treated them good. He talked about possible marriage and, he sold them into that dream. And keep in mind, he is a con artist.
This is true.
So there's a little bit of dysfunctional, crazy, psychology thing going back there. Like he has a master plan.
Yes.
And he wouldn't be called a con artist if he was all easily figured out. Right.
This is so true. This is so true. This is so true.
You have to keep that in mind.
Definitely have to keep that in mind. Well, unfortunately, he was very successful at what he did. But, I do hope that he doesn't continue to be rewarded for this bad behavior. I'm not a fan. But anyway, great movie. I think it is, an amazing cautionary tale for women out there, that there are men who do exist like this, maybe not on this level, but, there are men who are looking to con you, who are looking to scam you. So, be on the lookout and keep your eyes wide open.
Yep, and be safe.
Be safe. Yeah, absolutely. Be safe. There's a comment here from Pat T. Hello, Pat T. Thank you for joining us today. She says, good afternoon. So true, only in America. With what we were saying before, I'm in Florida, so many things to say, but I won't. Okay. We'll save it for another show, Pat. How about that? Okay, so disclaimer before we talk about today's topic, which is struggle love. Yes. We have a lot of great content. As we've been talking about it behind the scenes, we probably will not get through all of the content today. So there will be probably 2 parts at the very least. But just so you know, this is kind of just the opening of the conversation for us to learn and be informative about what exactly struggle love is. Yes. And the disclaimer is, trials and tribulations are a normal part of relationships. We all get that. And they are a part of the growing process. So we don't want to take away from that. However, there's a difference when it comes to struggle love, There's a big difference when it comes to it. And this is where we have to be very, very careful that we don't cross that line. And, at some point, I believe most, if not all women have been in a situation like this. So we're hoping that the series that we do today, we're probably leading into next week, it will be helpful for you to pick out the signs and figure out how to get out of that situation. Yes. It's really, really crazy out there. And unfortunately, it's very painful. Yeah, it is. At the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with this term that I found that defines what struggle love is. And it states, it is a term that describes relationships where turbulence is mistaken for love. And one partner, often the woman, unfortunately, must constantly bear the brunt of the other partner's actions or inactions. Ooh, okay. So that's a mouthful. It is. In a nutshell. Yeah. I the part that stuck out to me the most is turbulent. I think that's the best way to describe. Yeah. What's turbulent. Yeah. Like when is a turbulence severe enough for you to leave? Mm-hmm. And when is it become unhealthy because you decide to stay? Yes. Okay. So let's dive right into it since we have so much to talk about. So what it is. So we have some pointers that we found online just to kind of summarize it in terms of what it looks like. So while we're discussing this, like I said, feel free to comment, ask questions, and call in to the show if you have anything you want to add. So first and foremost, struggle love looks like your partner is unemployed, not actively seeking work, and you constantly having to help your partner financially. So I guess we can speak on experiences we know of, plus our own personal experiences, because I know I'm definitely not immune or, in my past to struggle love. I've definitely experienced it. Have you experienced it in this capacity, like dealing with the financial aspect of it and taking care of someone? Absolutely. Oh, okay. Absolutely. And, what's interesting is, I would hear stories about other women who, would buy cars for people and things, like do these, to me, extravagant, extreme things for their partner. And I would be like, that would never be me. Now, I have not gone that far down in terms of doing car payments and things like that. But I have definitely, had somebody who I took care of financially or supported financially for a period of time,
right,
while they were, trying to get themselves up and going. They did have a job at the beginning of the relationship, but things happen and that job was lost. So, me being the supportive girlfriend at the time, decided to, support. But I think I may have overextended myself a lot, which led to a lot of resentment as the relationship continued. Because I just felt like I was fine doing it for a while, but after a while I was kind of like, why am I doing this? Like, I have my kids to take care of.
Right.
I have myself. I'm like trying to get my education in check right now. And I'm also taking care of you. So I'm going to school full time. I got kids and I'm working full time. And it was just too much.
Yeah.
And, it was, I'm looking. But, how long do you allow that process to continue before you're like, okay, like that's enough. Like, you got to get something, or you just gotta go. You're on your own.
Yeah. You just kind of brought up a situation I completely forgot about when I was in college, of someone that I was helping out, because they're on hard times. And the second I took that resource away, it was almost like I became the bad person, and in that stage in my life, I didn't understand it. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. Something is a little off here.
Yeah.
But I was doing that. And as soon as it was cut off, it was like, I was a bad person. You're supposed to continue doing this. It wasn't cool at all.
Very manipulative.
Yes.
Because I can speak for another situation that I know of, and the same thing. I knew of somebody who was taking care of their husband who was not in the country, and definitely helping provide for him and stuff. And the moment there was no money coming his way, it was a big argument. And it's like, hello. You're a grown man. You need to be taking care of yourself. Why are you relying on me?
Yeah.
So, but yes, you're right. Major manipulation. And I think that's what keeps it in play a little bit longer than it needs to be.
It's a part of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you feel like, oh my gosh, am I not doing my job, quote unquote, as his woman, trying to support him and hold him down while he's going through, this little rut, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that is a sign.
But we'll definitely get deeper into that, because there is a psychological term for that we will discuss a little later on.
Okay.
So, but you're absolutely right. There is a cycle. There's the manipulator.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even realize that they're manipulating. And sometimes they do. Okay. And then there's the codependent.
Okay.
Right. But we'll get a little deeper into that, as we go. So I want to make sure that we get through the point, so the ladies out there can absolutely know what's going on.
Yeah.
So another thing, when we say about that, what is it? What does it look like? Is if you find yourself in a situation where your partner is not willing to fully commit to you, right? Until you act right, or there's some type of stipulation. So you stay in a situation where this person is kind of almost like a carrot and a stick. If you do this, if you do that, do more. The woman stays and she's waiting for that ring, and the ring never shows up. I know too many women in situations like that. What do you do at that point?
Yeah. Well, what do you do?
Yeah, that's when you have to do a little soul searching, right?
Yeah.
And figure out, is this a situation for me? Is this healthy? Am I happy? You start to do a little soul searching in those types of situations but the thing about it, because there is manipulation involved, it can be tricky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hear of this so often, too often, in fact. And I mean, I have my opinion on what should be done, but it's my opinion.
Right.
But
no judgment, no
judgment at all. And I think that should be the other disclaimer that we put out there. Like, there's no judgment in any of this at all. We're just, speaking on things that we know of and things that we've grown from. So we're not acting like we've never gone through it. We've definitely gone through a majority of these points that we have on our list and have come out better for it. it. And that's why we feel so strongly about this topic and speaking on it today, because, we honestly believe that it's something you're not even aware you're in while you're going through it. And it's only when you're on the other side and maybe you do some work on yourself, you're like, oh my goodness, like,
I didn't realize what that was.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was in that. I didn't understand it, not until you're on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so in saying that, the whole act right, I've heard quite a few stories like, well, she needs to this, she needs to that. And it's like, okay, but if those things are not here right now on the quote unquote table, and I hate using that term, but if you're not experiencing that now from this individual, why try to change them into being somebody they're not? Why not just accept them for who they are and let that person go? Speaking from a male perspective, just based on things I hear men say when they're in these types of situations too. But they, I feel like they kind of perpetuate it a little bit, but no, I'm not trying to excuse anybody's actions. I think it's a two-way street in situations like this, and it's very sensitive because love is at the core of it all. And when your heart's in love, your mind kind of shuts down.
Turns completely off at times.
It turns off, and you're just running on those heart fumes. And sometimes you gotta put the heart at rest and let the mind kick in and say, okay, you know what is it that I really want for myself? But anyhow, the whole act right part of it, that in itself gives me a little bit of a cringe, to be honest.
It does. That word is just like, act right? Excuse me? What am I, a child?
Exactly.
Am I a child?
Am I a child? Okay, so the other point we have here is if you find yourself in a situation where your partner can be violent, emotionally and verbally abusive, but you tell yourself that you are strong and you can handle it.
See, that's the thing, that word strong is extremely loaded, for women.
Yes.
Take it. It's okay. That ride or die mentality, it's a badge of honor to stick in there and be strong and take it. At the end, you might come out with the trophy.
Exactly. Yeah, you might.
And we as women, because of how we were brought up, what we learn through our culture, it teaches these lessons that we don't even question after a while. It just becomes normal. I'm a ride or die. What does that really mean when you think about it? Let's break it down. What does that mean?
That I'm going to be around no matter what. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to support you. If a Boo the fool ends up in jail, I'm going to make sure he's got his money so he can buy what
money
he needs
in jail.
When he's out, I'm going to make sure he's good. I'm willing to go down until I die for this guy. That's ride or die. Yeah. And it's, what a horrible, I think it's a very destructive statement.
It can be. I think because it all depends on the extreme of how far you want to take that statement, right?
Yep.
Is it a ride or die that's balanced in the sense where, okay, I'm with you, and mature and healthy, a healthy ride or die, as opposed to an unhealthy ride or die, right?
Okay.
And even in the statement itself, if we look a little deeper, we realize that it's really beneficial for the man. Oftentimes, I don't meet a lot of women that says, I want to ride or die. You meet men that say, I'm looking for a ride or die.
This is true.
What does that mean? What are you asking when you say that? Are you saying you want to, if I cheat, you got to stay with me. If I'm abusive to you, you got to stay with me. If I go to jail, you have to stay with me. And then the woman takes that on and say, yeah, I'm your ride or die. And then she finds herself in a situation doing things that are not healthy, not helpful for her family. If she has children, it's just not healthy. But there's another aspect where I guess the healthier aspect of ride or die, and I'm just kind of
putting it up,
making this up as I go, you know, because I think there's extremes, right? There's one extreme, there's the other, where we're going to do this together. We're going to have mutual respect. We're going to go through, almost like what you said earlier, relationships have ups and downs.
Ebbs and flows.
Just naturally. That's where the growth is, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to weather some of those storms? in a respectful way, my ride or die. So I think if you're on the extreme spectrum, we're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
We're entering that struggle of that unhealthy, unfulfilling relationship. If you're on the other end of the spectrum, it's reasonable because that's just life. You have your ups and downs and you want to make sure that your man or your woman is there for you through tough times.
Absolutely. So for me, I would then say for the healthier part of the spectrum, why not say, let's ride and live?
I like that. I like that.
I don't want to ride and die.
That's something I would definitely say. I'm with it. I'm with it. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with it.
So we have a comment from...
Return that phrase. Yeah.
Exactly. Return that phrase. Let's ride and live. How about that? There's a comment from Pat T again. Going back to, I believe, what we started speaking about, many stay for the fear of losing them. But how much of them do you have when you are carrying the relationship? Yes, that was the first point when, you have that partner who's unemployed and not actively seeking work and you're, constantly providing for him. Yeah. How much do you carry that? It's a lot to carry on your own. I can tell you that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I believe you're up next.
Okay. So we kind of touched on this a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
An individual who finds himself in the struggle of often have to put up with someone who does a lot of cheating, excessive cheating. And kind of like what we spoke about before, how much do you put up with? And I know we talked about this, Lady T, and we're like, some women are okay with that.
Yeah.
They're okay with the occasional mess up and, they work through it. But some people, it will never stop because you accept it.
Yes.
And how happy are you in a situation like that? Right. If you have an open relationship, it's completely different.
Absolutely.
Everyone is agreeing that you can do this, you can do that. There's no problem.
Yes.
But when one person is assuming that it's just you and me and you go out there and cheat constantly, that's extremely painful. But we find that I know women in my family, for example, that will stay with their partner, no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how many women, he's been with, no matter how many women come knocking on the door, making those crazy phone calls.
No matter how many babies pop up.
He's a ride or die on the other spectrum. She's not a ride or live in that capacity.
She's definitely a ride or die. And, it's more than just, for me, it's more than just the cheating. It's like, there are children that have been produced from these situations. So now you have, outside children. What about that child? You also have to concern yourself with STDs. I know the situation of somebody who was cheated on by their partner and, contracted an STD. It's humiliating. And it's painful. I felt that pain for that person because here's somebody you trust and you believe that they're going out to do what they say they're going to do. Meanwhile, they have a whole other thing going on. Right. And then they come home and they, leave something on your bed for you that you didn't ask for. I just feel like for me, it's one of the ultimate betrayals. And it's tough.
And I know someone that's been through that. And the hard part about it is, she struggled with the shame, but she didn't do the cheating.
Yes.
She didn't bring the infection.
Yes.
But she struggled so much with the shame. For years, no one knew what was going on.
Oh.
And it really did kind of, because of the stress associated with it, it deteriorated her health. She started to have a lot of other physical ailments because she's keeping all that in. But it's really unfair because once again, like I said earlier, the man went out there, cheated and did, the unthinkable, brought it back to her. And now she's stuck with shame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely not an easy thing to put out there, that something like that has occurred in your situation. And I think a lot of the times too, women keep it to themselves because they don't want, their friends or family members maybe to look at their partner differently.
Make judgment. That too, make judgment, do the turn up nose type of thing, like, ew.
Yeah. And, but the repeatedness of it is what the issue is. I know several women who would forgive a one-time cheat, but in the struggle love aspect of it, it's the continuous cheating and you having to just forgive him over and over and over and over again and putting yourself through all that pain and stress as a result. Okay, so moving on. Another point is struggle of means that you are in a unreciprocated relationship and it is based on your partner benefiting from your actions.
Yes.
Been there, done that. Yeah. Very painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very painful to feel like you are given of yourself and come in with your vulnerability into a situation and you're not being met back with something the same. You're not being met back with the same.
Right.
It's almost like you find yourself bending towards that person more, but the bend isn't coming back towards you. Kind of like the heart. If you kind of look at the heart, which is why I like the heart, because it's like one half bends and the other half bends,
they come together,
which is what love is about, right?
Absolutely. But it's a part of you, as you're talking about that's a part of the cycle, right?
Yes.
Of struggle love. You have someone who, like I said, we'll talk about this term later on, the codependent and the manipulator.
Yes.
Right. The codependent then is giving excessive amount of love and attention, forgiveness, everything that she has, because she feels that this is what's needed, for her to keep the man, to make the man happy. And then it's not reciprocated.
Yeah.
At all. The emotional needs aren't met. It's draining, completely draining.
But you keep doing it. In these type of situations, you keep doing it. You're like, maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that, maybe if I do this, maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe you start questioning yourself. You literally start going a little crazy. It really impacts your mental health. I hate using the C word, but it really negatively impacts your mental health. You become anxious, a little bit of paranoia in there sometimes too. Like, ooh. And we will speak about the consequences of struggle of a little bit more deeper, because there are mental health and physical health consequences as a result of this as well.
Yeah. But even as we talk about it not being reciprocated, what happens to the woman who stays in a situation like this is they start to believe that they're not worthy of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they try even harder to try to become worthy of love. Yeah. So if you're out there and you're listening, you can see the cycle and how dysfunctional it is. You're giving all your love, you're not getting it back. Now you feel like you're not worthy of love. You're not doing enough, and you start to do more until, like what you said, Lady T, resentment starts to kick in, which is another phase of the cycle that happens as well. You start blaming yourself, I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing that right. Maybe I need to do a little bit better. Maybe I need to be, you just give so much of yourself.
Yeah.
So you have like nothing left.
Nothing left for yourself. Nothing left for yourself at all. You literally become a shell of yourself, which is really unfortunate and very hard, very challenging to come out of and come back from,
But there is a way you can come out of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Once again, we'll talk a little bit about how to come out of a situation that represents struggle of, which is not healthy at all.
Not healthy.
Even though it's highly promoted, it's cheerleaded on.
It is.
Throughout our society, which is kind of sad, but there's a way out.
Yeah. And we see it in these celebrities, quote unquote, or within pop culture, where, we celebrate these people who we really don't know anything about except for the drama they bring to social media, which is where we get all of this information from. And, there's almost a part of people that tends to love them more as a result. It makes them feel connected to them. It makes them seem more human, but it's not in the positive aspect of who these people are. It's almost in the negative aspect of what they experience and what they're putting out there.
Exactly.
And I mean, log on to Instagram and scroll for about a good 5 minutes. You'll come across plenty of things. Like, it doesn't take long. And I personally find that really, really unfortunate. But anyhow, moving on to the next part.
Right.
So struggle love leads women to attach their worth and validation to making their partner happy. We pretty much spoke on this too. And if they do not, they feel guilty or ashamed. And we definitely touched on that. Yeah.
So another big thing, and I have been guilty of this, is being Miss Fix-It. You know, I'm sure all you ladies know about that.
Barbara the Builder. That's what we're going to call her.
You know, we think we can fix everything. We can fix our men's problems. You know, we can solve, we're the problem solver. And once again, we give so much of our time and our energy trying to fix a problem that we cannot fix oftentimes. You know, no matter how much time we try to fix it, it's never going to be good enough. We're always trying to work on, you know, improving and fixing and changing. You know, there's an old saying is, you know, you can't change a man unless he wants to change. But oftentimes we think that the man is ready to change. So we're going to change him. I'm going to do the most, you know, because I know if I do the most, he will eventually change.
Yep. And the only person who can change anybody is that person themselves. Absolutely. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about them. They have to, in my opinion, they have to see the value in you to recognize how important it is for themselves to do the work, to be the best person, to bring their best version to you. And if they don't see that, you know what I would say, he ain't it.
Right.
So
is that easy?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I'm speaking for me.
Right.
Lady T, yes, it is that easy. You know, I think I've just lived enough life experience just to know. I'm not going to say I haven't been in a situation like that. I've definitely been the fix-it, you know. I've been the contractor, the plumber, the electrician, the mason, like I've done it all. But at the end of that situation, and then, you know, as I, you know, started to really reflect on it, I was, number one, exhausted.
Yes, I was about to bring that up. Because you're constantly working.
You're constantly working. I was exhausted. I was sad, very sad, like depression, sad. I was, I actually didn't know who I was. Like I was that shell of a person at the end because I poured everything I had into this person. And at the end of it had nothing to show for any of it. Right. And
sometimes just, not even a thank you, not even a
thank you, which butt. Nowhere. No thank yous. It was an expectation, right? Because you're the woman. Good point. You know, you're the partner. You're supposed to ride and die for me. And yeah, I lost myself, you know, came out of that honestly having to rediscover who the heck I was. And yeah, and once I healed from that, I was just determined never to put myself in a situation like that again. So that's why now I can say, yeah, no, like I'm not here to change you. You either see where you need to make your own improvements for this relationship or not. And if you don't choose to, I have to have the proper boundaries in place to know what I deserve and what I'm worth and keep it moving. And I'm very comfortable in that. But, you know, going back to Pat's point, you know, when she said they fear losing the person, 100%. You know, I think a part of me continued to do some of those things because I just figured, number one, you see the potential, which is another dangerous word in these type of situations, because you're waiting for something that you haven't seen. You know, like having faith, but you literally are putting this faith in an actual person, not in, you know, a God, etc. And you wait and nothing ever becomes of that, you know, and then it's another rabbit hole of just continuing to lose yourself and hurting yourself in the end.
And the stories that we tell ourselves, you know, in that situation where it's like I don't want to lose him or I'm afraid to be alone, you know, it's almost like, well, I don't want to go out there and meet someone else because I'm going to have to deal with the same thing. But who says you're going to deal with the same thing?
Exactly.
You don't know that.
Exactly.
Right. But unless you have to do the growing you have to grow, or else you will cycle back into the same thing if you're unable to realize why you're attracting this type of individual,
the same type of person, yeah.
Or why you keep on going back or seeing the same stuff show up in other relationships. There has to be a point in your life where you're like, wait a minute, this is about my 5th relationship and it's the same pattern. What's going on here?
Yeah. Who is the common denominator?
Who is the common denominator? And you know who that is?
Yep.
Who is it?
It's yourself.
Exactly.
It's yourself.
Comes back to yourself.
It is yourself. And, one thing I will say, I'm like, my motto in life, especially for the last umpteenth years, is be true to you. And I always say it is the hardest thing to do, but it is the most rewarding thing you can ever do for yourself. And I live by that mantra. It's everywhere. It's on my car. Like, it's just me. And
yeah, I can call you and I can say, hey, T, all right, you know what? I got to step out for a second. Do you, girl? I'm like, okay. Can I get to talk to you later?
No, I'll be like, do you? Like, be true to you. Live your life, live your life on your terms, as long as it ain't hurt nobody. Whatever you're going to do you. But, like, seriously, though, it's the hardest thing that you can do. But, I'm a proponent of putting myself first. I believe that I matter. I believe that I have value and that I have worth. And I have to be able to see that in myself before anybody else can see it.
Absolutely.
So in saying that, I think we've pretty much wrapped up roughly what it is. So it's all these things, lying, traumatic experiences over and over again, what we call drama, pretty much that in a whole is your struggle love. Okay. So with that said, do you want to talk about the cycle of the struggle love, or do you think we've...
Sure. We kind of touched on it a little bit. So
we did.
You have 2 components when you're in the cycle of the struggle love. The first is you have the codependent, which is usually yourself, the woman, and then you have the manipulator. The codependent, like I mentioned earlier, is constantly giving, loving in excess. And she does it because she feels that there's going to be a reward at the end of it. Once that's not reciprocated, she then becomes resentful. After the feeling unloved or unlovable, after feeling like she's blaming herself for everything, she goes into a state of resentment, anger, frustration, fatigue. But the sad part about the cycle is she stays. And then it continues over and over again. Even if she's dissatisfied with the situation, it continues going. And that's pretty much the cycle of it. So we need to kind of talk a little bit more about how we got to this place. Where do we learn these types of behaviors so we can start to understand, okay, this is where it comes from. What do I do to get out of it? How can I break this cycle?
Of that, exactly. No, those are all great points.
So where do we learn some of these behaviors, right?
Let's talk about that. First and foremost, culture, which is multifaceted in itself. So our society, norms, parenting, pop culture.
Let's talk a little bit about the parenting and how that comes into play, because that's important. That's our first representation of relationships, right?
Yes.
The relationships we see with our parents, mom and dad, brother, sister, all the family dynamics there. And one of the things that I found out is that we have a expectation for women, right? That's very, very clear from a very young age. But we don't have that for men.
This is true.
Oftentimes.
So true.
It's very simple, very, shallow at times. But the women have this expectation to always perform, to take care of, to nurture, right?
Yep.
So when we get into these situations where we find ourselves in struggle love, a lot of it stems from our family dynamics and what we're taught. I know personally, I was taught a lot of that. you need to do this in order for a man to want you. Right? So what does that say?
Yes.
If I don't do this, a man won't want me. If I don't do this, I won't be lovable to a man. And you're getting these messages as a kid.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I'm talking about as early as 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Oh yeah, with a fresh brain that knows nothing about love other than what it sees and what it experiences.
Right?
Yeah.
So then love becomes a performance thing.
Yes.
Right? Let me do
in order to receive.
Because the more I do, you're going to love me.
Yep.
Validation. Right? Oh my God, I'm not doing enough. So guess what? Let me do more.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that validation.
Yeah.
But it sucks that we learn this stuff at such a young age. And then we wonder why we end up in these situations later in life. So even when we find ourselves in those situations, women out there, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty, because if you're trained and taught that this is okay, this is the way, when you end up in struggle love, you don't even realize that that's what you're playing out. You're playing out the messages that started at home first.
Exactly.
Often.
And that's even and we also have to keep in mind, not everybody grows up with their parents. Some people grow up with single parents. Some parents grow up with other, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent. So it's up to those people who we see as our protectors to role model what love looks like. And if they are themselves in dysfunctional situations, I'll say, then that's what you're going to see as normal, right? And then you're going to act within the same manner, not even seeing
realizing
it because it literally becomes second nature to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Second nature.
Second nature.
Okay. So and it goes back to kind of that same second nature parenting thing, is that I know for me, I've heard this message and seen this message all over the place. You're taught to stick by your man. Stick by him, no matter what. Stick by him. Stick by him. But what if the roles were reversed? Why don't we hear the man get the message, stick by your woman?
Yeah.
Stick by your woman. So you see how it's lopsided? It
is very, very lopsided.
And you don't think about it.
No.
Because we weren't, raised
to think
that dynamic, the switch dynamic.
Yeah.
Why does it only the woman has to stick with the man? Why can't the man also stick with the woman?
It's true. It's 100% true.
And it feeds into, once again, the struggle love dynamic.
And I mean, something to also note, even though, we are speaking directly to the women, men do experience it too, or can experience it too on their end. So this can flip in the other direction as well. And I mean, in some of the men I know who have experienced dynamics like this, they're not in it anymore. Although I do know a few who did kind of stick it out for a bit. So
really?
Now that I think about it, I know a couple, but I would say the majority didn't.
Yeah. I know one.
Okay.
But like you said, the majority didn't.
Yeah. They were like, I'm out. Peace.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so in terms of the parenting, that was one of the things I was very cautious of, with my own children, girl or boy, in saying, if you're not being treated with the respect and the, appreciation that you deserve, then tough decision to have to make, but just know what you're worth and work and move accordingly.
Right.
In essence, I wouldn't be happy to know that my son or my daughter were in a situation like that. So I try not to, bring that type of mindset culturally towards them, because I mean, we see it even in our own culture, being Caribbean, it's not like, I don't hate to say it, but like struggle love is kind of, it's just normal. Like
in the Caribbean.
Yeah. It's very normalized. Right.
Very.
And I'm sure there's a lot of dynamics to that, but, because that's just what you see, it just continues to perpetuate itself, and nobody does anything about it. You just learn to live with it, and it is what it is.
And that's what it is. You learn to live with it to the point where it's commonplace. You know, I have a friend that's actually, she travels between Canada and Jamaica quite often. And we're talking about this dynamic of some, I don't want to stereotype at all, but some women that she's encountered down there, that they're really content with, you know, the cheating, and they're doing it themselves.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's like a whole mixed pot of everything, you know, the gumbo's on, but she was saying it's very dysfunctional because they've come to a place, some of these women that she's encountered, where it's just a part of life, just like drinking a cup of water. You know, it's like nothing, like they've lost any sense of, in my opinion, I hope I don't sound judgmental, but self-worth and value. You know, they're completely missing that and just kind of gave in. This is what it is.
This is what it is. Just go with it. So would that not then be considered an open relationship if that's the case?
By our terms, we would, but
like if they're both doing it and they're both aware that the other person's doing it, or no?
But that's the thing, they're not.
Oh, okay, then no, that's not.
You know, some part in this, I can't even call it a triangle because there's probably sometimes more than 3 people involved, right? There's some deception in there. By one person doesn't know what the other person. So it's really messy.
Yeah.
You know,
sounds very messy.
Yeah.
Okay, so spoke about pretty much like the culture of it. So we talked about parenting, talked about pop culture. I always say pop culture. And there is this interesting quote in this article that I read, and I just want to read it before we move on, because I think it's pretty important. Black women are constantly told that we should ask for little and accept even less. We're labeled gold diggers and social climbers if we dare desire partners who are providers, something women of other nationalities and races have done and continue to do for the betterment of future generations. And we're regularly told that the things we desire, like marriage, for instance, are out of reach, out of touch, or simply out of our league. Black women are constantly bombarded by statistics and studies proclaiming that we're marrying less frequently, marrying less stably, and divorcing more commonly than our peers. And the underlying suggestion is that we should lower our expectations if we hope to find and keep a man. This is also reflected in Black media, Black film, Black television, and Black music. End quote. And there are no lies told in that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes. So you know who comes to mind as when you talk about pop culture? I stopped watching it a while ago. Empire, Lucia, that relationship dynamic.
Okay. Yes.
It's the ideal example of struggle love.
Yeah. And
ideal.
That's TV. That's what we see. And even the music. Remember when you had the conversation and there was this song that we liked, but pretty much we liked the beat, thinking we knew the words. And then once we discovered what the words were, we were like, oh, I didn't know it was saying all that. You know, right. It's almost like a subconscious programming.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And once again, going back, you know, we talked about the parenting aspect of it, the social aspect of it, you know, what we watch on TV, you know, Black media, social media, and how we're represented, even reality TV shows.
Yes.
You know, it's a lot of this. Oftentimes you see a lot of this struggle love, you know, maybe not to the extreme, but you can see it there, you know, fighting over men, you know, being disrespected. It's just crazy. So when you're being raised in an environment that, is this supposed to be about? You get into a relationship and all of a sudden struggle love is normal.
Yes.
Completely normal.
Yeah.
This is what it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to tough it out.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to fight.
This is just what comes with being in love.
In love.
Yeah. And you just keep it moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to talk? We have 5 minutes left.
Ooh, okay. So we can't get too deep because we only have 5 minutes left.
Do you want to talk about the limited options? Because I think can we talk about that in 5 minutes?
We can talk a little bit about that.
Let's touch on it.
My fiance and I had a conversation about limited options, right? And he feels that there's not enough women for men.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Which is why men, I guess, cheat. or have to share their loins.
Because
you know what I'm saying?
Because there's too many women out there who need loving.
Exactly. We got to help out. And I don't know if it's that limited.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that limited.
Interestingly enough, me and my husband have the same conversation, and he says the same thing. Like, there's more.
He says
women,
the same thing. That's
same
so interesting.
Thing. There's more women out there than men, so men have more options than women. And I'm like, I choose to not see it that way. I choose to not be limited by that narrative. I really do. I believe there are plenty of wonderful men in this world. And I'm pretty sure, had I not been with a wonderful man right now, there would be no issues in finding another great person. There are wonderful men out there.
I have a wonderful man myself, my fiance. And, I didn't have a problem catching him, right? Or him catching me. I don't know how exactly. You would say that.
He caught you. There you go. He caught you. But yeah, I've heard that several times by several men. Like, well, there's more of you out there. That's why it's hard. It's hard to keep our eye in one direction.
Get some men on the program to ask them a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we should get some men on the program to ask about that. That sounds like a great topic. But I think maybe that limitation in thought can be a part of the reason why, like we said,
exactly. And it goes into that fear, right? So it kind of being limited and fear.
Yeah,
I don't want to let this go
because I don't know.
I don't know what's out there.
Well,
right? So I'm going to stick through it.
Yeah, I'll tell a quick story before we go. And it's about me, complete transparency. When I got divorced, I had 5 children. I got divorced. And I remember, having a conversation with somebody, an elder woman. And she said, like, are you sure that's what you want to do? Because who's going to want to pick you up with your 5 kids?
Yeah.
I mean, something even in that was scary to me, but I knew that I deserved better than the situation I was in. So, but to be honest, I kind of believed it subconsciously.
Yeah, of course.
Like, who's going to want me? And even if I would meet people, I would be like, like, what do you want with me? But I've learned that it's not true, but words are very strong. I think, I'll leave off with, we have to be very careful about what we tell people they can and can't do. I don't think we should be telling anybody what they can or can't have in their life. I think whatever you set your mind to want for yourself, you can achieve that. And don't let anybody tell you can't have something or not. My 5 kids have never been an issue in obtaining any man. So for all you single moms out there who think, your kids are the reason why you can't settle down or why nobody wants it. That's a lie. It's a lie. Don't believe it. It is not true. It is a lie. Anyhow, I just wanted to get that out there. But we are coming to a close, but we will continue this conversation next week. I think it's a great one. There's still so many things we have to touch on. We want to touch on the consequences of struggle love and what you can do to put yourself in a position to get out, I guess, of a situation like that.
Or recognize it, first acknowledge it, recognize it. And figure out how you get out if you want to get out. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So we'll talk more about that next week. We have to go on being cut off. So thank you, everybody, for listening to us today. Hopefully you enjoyed our show, and we'll be back next week with part 2 of Struggle Love.
Hey, listen to radio.
Hi, I'm urban Christian artist Kayla James, and you're listening to I Live Radio.
This is a team. You're listening to I Live Radio, changing the way you listen to